Welcome to the Lennox and Addington County Council meeting of September 18th, 2024. I'll call this meeting to order and ask for a motion to adopt the minutes of our August 14th meeting, please. Councillor Fritsch, Councillor Hagedorn, all in favor? Sorry, anything arising from those minutes, I should ask? Nothing. And welcome Bob Norrie, sitting in for Councillor Calver, who's indisposed. Brian, if you're listening, this is a heck of a way to get out of a meeting. I hope you get better soon. And welcome to Councillor Hogg, who is joining us remotely. Could I get approval of the agenda, please? Deputy Warden Townend and Councillor Richardson, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And our first item is the Warden's report. Oh, sorry, any disclosure of pecuniary interest? None declared, thank you, Tracy. The Warden's report, could I get a motion to receive that report? Councillor Davison and Councillor Fritsch, any discussion? I will just mention within that report, there's a couple of appendices. One is the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. I'm assuming you read this. At AMO, we had a number of meetings with different ministers, with the various opposition parties. I think one of the most important things that we undertook, we being the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, was we noted that in our Eastern Ontario upper tier municipalities, there are 13 of them, mostly counties, but some are cities, like Prince Edward is now a city, I guess. We have a $6 billion infrastructure asset deficit. That means at this time, we do not have any obvious funding to replace roads, bridges, all our buildings, and so on and so forth, and that is only growing. So we published this Mind the Gap Regional Municipal Infrastructure Policy paper highlighting that. The province is being asked to undertake a social and economic study to review funding in Ontario. Just sort of incidental to that, at that Goodyear announcement, Councillor Richardson and I were on time, but the big shots weren't. So Terry and I were sitting in an office and chatting, and Terry was very excited because, rightly so, Greater Napanee had just received funding for the water treatment facility, a significant chunk of funding. I think it's what, about 35 million, Terry?
Yeah, just under 35 million, 34.8, Mr. Warden. Which
represents about half the capital cost.
Yep, roughly, yes.
And I think the fund that came out of, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, is close to $1 billion. And is it something like that, Terry, that infrastructure fund in total?
That's correct, that infrastructure total, and there's a second phase that's now open, but it's about $1.2 billion infrastructure funding. So there's still another $250 million still available. So I know, right. I think the application process is out there still, and I'm sure that the folks that weren't successful will probably be applying, and those that are shovel ready will probably apply as well.
And that's great, and something to be happy about. But when I got thinking about it, and after we had all our announcements and so on, when I got home, I just divided. I thought it was $1 billion. I divided $1 billion by 35 million, and I came out with something like 30 projects. This is in the whole province. That fund would take care of, say there's a top up and so on. We're still talking maybe 50, 60 projects. There are hundreds and hundreds of potential projects out there of various sizes. So this kind of announcement is great, but we wait for them all the time, right? It's ad hoc, it's unplanned, and this is why we need stable funding. Not because we're ungrateful for these things, but because we can't plan when we don't know what's coming. So, you see, I talk so long, my computer just shut itself down. If that isn't a warning, I don't know what. Did I get a vote? Can I have a vote? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Matters for consideration. Number 1 is John M. Parrott Center one-time funding. And The recommendation is that the staff report on one-time funding be noted and received, and that council direct staff to proceed with the purchase and service of the items listed on the September 9th, 2024 report to council. Ms. Malcolm, did you want to address anything in particular in this report?
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. I'd just like to explain my choices for the equipment that I've selected, just briefly if I can. The wireless phone system you'll be hearing next up on the agenda has reached end of life. And so what I've tried to do is balance things that we had anticipated from a 10-year capital plan, so things that we know are upcoming, and then also try to look at things that we wouldn't have normally considered because we just didn't have the funds in which to do. So it's trying to balance both of those things. So you'll see the wireless phone system would be using $50,000, which we had already planned for within our 2024 capital budget, and then $40,000 would be used out of the one-time funding. The resident bedroom chairs, this would purchase 70 chairs. The number that we require changes from year to year. As you can imagine, many families like to bring, or residents like to bring in their own lazy boy chairs. So depending on what the mix is at the time, we would potentially, I would envision that we would need about another 30 chairs. So, but I can forecast that later in the capital budget. So I thought we would start with 70. The chairs that I've quoted here are very IPAC friendly, very wipeable. The ones we currently have are most certainly not, and require a lot of dry cleaning and steam cleaning in order to maintain them. The digital corridor call bell displays, you'll recall 2 years ago we put in a new call bell system, and so these digital call bell displays will be down each of the hallways so that the staff can see who is being called, which room is calling, and they wouldn't have to be wearing pagers and losing pagers, and we go through a lot of pagers, so this would help eliminate that issue as well. The handrails are the Clorox and all of the cleaning that we're doing is taking the surface right off of our handrails, and so they're becoming a significant infection control issue. So you can see that we budgeted $28,000, and that was actually to start this year and then moving forward for the next 6 years. But the quote actually came in at $54,000. So there was a significant increase in that. So we thought we would start with the core, the center core up and down, and then we would start with 3 RHAs, one of them being our secure unit, because they do tend to hold on to the handrail the most, and then 2 other areas. So that would leave us with 3 RHAs left to do, that we would again plan for within the capital moving forward. And then the TV communication system, some of our, not all of our residents obviously come out of their home area, and so this would help to improve the communication. And we would use it from both a staff perspective, but also a family engagement perspective, and as well a resident engagement perspective. I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions for Angela on this one? None? Then can I get a motion to receive and approve to proceed with the purchase and services listed? Councillor Fritsch, Councillor Hagedorn, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks. Okay, the next item is also the JMPC, but this is Mr. Wager. This is that the staff report be noted and received, and that council directs staff to sole source award the replacement of the current 25-year-old wireless phone system to Simtel at a cost of $95,000, and further that any shortfall in the 2024 IT budget that does not cover the total cost of this project be addressed by utilizing the JMPC one-time funding grant. Mr. Wager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. This wireless phone system has been in place for over 20 years, almost actually about 25 years. Most municipalities have replaced those about 10 years ago, and I've actually even further started replacing those replacements. So we've got extended lifespan out of our existing infrastructure, but we're at the point where we can't even get backups or hardware to support that. So we really need to replace the entire system. So tying into the call bell system with the Simtel, staff's recommending that we sole source, so it's a better service for our residents. That way, if we go with a different company and there's a hardware patch or a software patch, you run the risk of the two systems not being compatible and they need to talk to each other. So that's why we're suggesting we go with the one system, one supplier, and they'll be able to meet all of our needs, whether it's for the call bell system or the wireless phone system. I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Questions for Mr. Wager on this one? None. Can I get a mover and seconder for this? Councillor Davidson, Deputy Warden Townend, any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Our next item is infrastructure funding program. The motion is that this staff report re-infrastructure funding program, HECS, be noted and received, and that council directs staff to submit an application under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Housing Enabling Core Servicing Stream, to reconstruct County Road 6 with intersection improvements. Mr. Wager again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Again, through you, just want to point out that we did look at some other projects as well. The whole purpose of the housing enabling core services stream is meant to repair roads and bridges or expand on your current infrastructure that will promote growth and help develop your communities. So the two main projects that came to mind was the Taylor Kidd extension, as it does connect two communities, and the western extension, north-south road here in Napanee that we just recently completed the EA on. Unfortunately, as part of the application process, all the land has to be acquired by the municipality prior to an application, and we're just not there yet. We've only acquired a portion of the land, which means we'd only be able to fund the portion of the road extension that the land has already been purchased on, which is, we have 0 for the Napanee portion and only about 10% of the Taylor Kidd extension. So looking at all of our projects, the County Road 6 project was planned for rehabilitation. It was only planned for a short-term rehabilitation just to tie us over until the Amherst View West started to build out. But if we can get funding now, we could build that out with intersection improvements and turn lanes that will be required for those subdivisions because we don't have development charges, and it would be funded by the province in this case. And it's money not that we have to put on our tax base, but from the province. And I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Any questions or comments on this one? Councillor Richardson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Not so much questions, maybe more comments than anything, Chris. I have to agree with you, and I'm going to get a little bit possessive here and biased with respect to what I have to say, is the north-south extension from County Road 1 down to Bridge Street is imperative for our municipality to grow. As we heard earlier, and thank you, Mr. Warden, it was an extremely nice lead into what I am going to say here now, is that our friends at the province provided us a substantial fund or a grant in order to increase our wastewater treatment plant. It's going to enable us to build as many as 4,000 homes. A good portion of those homes are in the west part of Napanee. We've got approximately 1,500 residences or residences on the books now that are in various stages of ready to go. And as we know, we do have a traffic gridlock problem in the town of Greater Napanee. There very rarely a day goes by that somebody doesn't call, and I know that Chris's phone probably burns up off the wall about Center Street and left-hand turn lanes and everything else. So for our municipality, it's imperative to try and get this infrastructure, this road infrastructure, to help build our homes. We have the ability now to build homes. We have the ability now to service homes. We just need the infrastructure to get to those homes. And I think this extension north-south from County Road 1 to Bridge Street is an extremely important one. So what I would hope, or what I would like to see, is that obviously we're restricted in applying for this infrastructure grant because we don't own the land. But I would like to see it move forward, that we would make some attempts to try and obtain that land, at least for, I know there's some other roads that need to be built, but I would like to see some movement forward to see if we can't obtain the property for at least this north-south extension, because unless we do that, we're not going to get the grants. And I know that extension is going to be an extremely, extremely expensive one, because I think there's a bridge that's got to go over top of the tracks, or maybe a couple of bridges that have to go over creeks or waterways. It's going to be expensive, and we're going to need the help from our province, from our friends at the province, to do that. So, but we can't even get in the game unless we've got that property. So I'd like to see some movement forward to see if we can't obtain that property. And I know that there's varying degrees or discussions that could be had, but we've got some provincial partners that are extremely, extremely eager to invest in infrastructure. And I think we have to take advantage of that right now. That may not last forever, and the money may dry up at some point, but I really think that if there's some money that we can access, we at least have to put ourselves in the game. And with our wastewater treatment plant, and thank you, Mr. Warden, for bringing that up, the reason we were successful because we were ready to go, and we had to go whether we wanted to or not. We were going to have to try and figure out how to pay for it, but we had made the decision that we had to do it, because if we don't grow, we die. So that would be my request. I don't know if later on in the agenda you'd be looking for any type of a notice to motion, or if I can leave it with Ms. Orchard to explore that. Anyways.
Yeah, Brenda says you can make a motion right now if you wish, Councillor Richardson.
Okay, I wasn't prepared to make the motion. I always like to make sure I get folks the heads up, but I would like to see make the motion that that staff at the county level would explore and to bring back a report with respect to the obtaining or purchasing the lands required to facilitate the north-south extension of Jim Kimmett Boulevard through to Bridge Street in the town of Greater Napanee. And I don't know if you need anything more than that, but is that good? Yeah, thank you.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Deputy Warden Townend? I see you, Bob, but just to make it less all Napanee, it's probably good to have any further discussion on that motion? All in favor? That's carried. And getting back to the report under discussion, is there any further questions for Mr. Wager? Seeing none, I didn't get a mover and seconder for that. Can I get a mover and seconder then to receive the report and to direct staff to proceed with the reconstruction of County Road 6 and intersection improvements? Councillor Hagedorn and Councillor Norrie. There we go. That's good bipartisan support. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, our next item is Mr. Wager is still on the spot for this one. This is the culvert replacements. Recommendation that the staff report County 41 culvert replacements be noted and received. Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. We have received some concerns from Addington Highlands, as well as a lot of residents in Stone Mills, Napanee, and in Addington Highlands regarding the temporary closure of County Road 41. This report outlines what we did look at, and I will say from a staffing point, the county does not want to close County Road 41 ever. Like we really recognize that it's the main connection point between the north and the south for emergency services, economic development, and just travel to work and school. Unfortunately, due to the depth of the culverts, the elevation of the road, and the type of fill and adjacent environment, nothing is really possible. I know from an engineering standpoint, a bypass is really the only thing that was possible, but we don't own any of the property. It's extremely environmental habitat that would be disrupted, and in fact, even the one bypass is right in Caladar, or just at the south end of Caladar. we'd be going through like someone's garage in order to build a bypass. So it's really not possible because of the extent of damage to private property and the environmental property. But yeah, we looked at relining, we looked at trench boxes, and just due to safety concerns because of the depth and the type of material, it's just not possible. I'd be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Questions for Mr. Wager on this one? Go ahead,
Mr.
Councillor
Warden?
Fritsch. Yes, and Henry, did you want to?
Yes,
go-
yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good. Yeah, I've had complaints, as Mr. Wager said, two different complaints. One is that there's a lack of signage on Provincial Highway 41 southbound. Like there's both County Road 30 that could go to the east, County Road 29 that could go to the west, but there are no signs until you get right to Caladar, which makes it, well, it just makes a longer trip. And the other concern we've had was why weren't two of the culverts done at one time and the third one at another time, so the road wasn't continuously closed for a total of 10 days.
Thank you, Councillor Hogg. Mr. Wager, did you want to address those concerns?
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. The signage is proper detour signage at County Road 7, because if you are heading south on 41, if you can't go further south, that's where the detour starts, and it directs you westerly over into Tweed and down. We could put additional signage up at Flinton at County Road 29 to direct people to take Flinton Road to go that way. It is additional signage, and it's well beyond the area of the detour, but that is possible if that's council's wishes. As to sorry, Henry, what was the other question? Oh, the three culverts at one time. Yeah, yes, my apologies. Because of the residents in between the culverts, you can't do two culverts at the same time. You have to do one, backfill it, and bring it up to traveling, and then go to the next one. Otherwise, you would landlock residents in between the two culverts that need the closure.
Okay.
Okay.
The
that
signage was the biggest concern. People were going right to Caladar and realizing that they could have saved 5 kilometers if they'd gone through Flinton. So I've had to field that complaint. I talked to one of your managers a few days ago about it, and I don't know if anything was done or not.
Did you want to make a motion about signage, Henry?
I think it's a little late now.
Well, it's supposed to be closed till September 25th. Is that not correct, Mr. Wager?
That's correct. We can get additional signage up there.
Yeah, if I could, I'd make a motion that we supply some additional signage, at least in the area of County Road 29, because the traffic count on Highway 41 in the past has been greater than Highway 7 from the counts that I've heard. So I'd like to have that done.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Deputy Warden Townend, any discussion? Yes, Councillor Hagedorn.
Thank you. Just a question for clarification to the director. That section of road, there's no connecting links in there. That's another road authority, is it not?
On Highway 41?
Yes.
That's Highway 41. That's under the jurisdiction of the MTO. So we'll have to go through approval to get additional signage on Highway 41. We already have approval for the south half of 41 and on Highway 7, but we'll communicate with MTO staff first thing in the morning to update that application and get additional signage at 29.
Thank you. Just one further question, if I may. I believe the county has some small PVMS boards, and if not, possibly the other road authority does. That may be a cheap, instant way to be able to do the signage as well. So along, just not adding to the motion, but that might be an option too, to be able to expedite the process and be able to utilize that infrastructure as well.
Through you, Mr. Warden, that's actually a great idea. We can actually put a little bit more messaging on that rather than just the orange detour sign. So that actually would be a better option than, and just we can pull one of those up and park it at, right at 29. Would that meet Henry's request?
It sounds like it would more than meet at Henry. Is that satisfactory?
I was going to suggest that I believe the Township of Addington Highlands has some electronic signboards also, which might be available.
Okay, so there's some options there. Good idea. Thanks, Jim. Anything further on this? All in favor? That's carried. And we still need a motion on the report, I guess, do we?
No.
No? Oh, that's included. Very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so further to this situation, the next one is Chief of Emergency Services, Mr. Jones, and it's regarding response time performance plan. Greg.
Thank you, Warden, through you. Each year under the Ambulance Act, we're required to submit a response time performance plan that's approved by council. Once approved by council, we submit to the ministry by October 31st. So the timely date, it is September, but to get it approved by October 1st, as per the legislation, we're here tonight. We are not recommending any changes after thorough data analysis. We're comfortable with the response time plan that we had previously. We are watching it with the further later on in the agenda. There is an activities report regarding the new Tyendinaga base, and we are watching that closely too, and we may have to adjust our response time plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion is simply to note and receive. Can I get a motion to that effect? Oh, and to approve, right. Sorry. I've still got the culvert replacements up here. Yeah, sorry. Yes, that this be noted and received, and that we approve the response time performance plan as required by Regulation 257-00 of the Ambulance Act. Who was moving that? Councillor Norrie, and seconded by Councillor Hagedorn. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the next item is also Mr. Jones, Loyalist Township ambulance base construction. Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Warden. Report before you in consultation with the Director of Infrastructure Services. Given the complexity and scale of the construction of the new base, we are recommending engaging with Jewel Engineering, of which we have a pre-existing contract as approved by Council. It is felt that given this complexity and the size of the project, that it's most appropriate to engage an engineering firm to allow us to best perform and provide the best product possible.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions for Mr. Jones on this one? Can I get a motion then that this be noted and received, and that council direct staff to engage Jewel for project and contract administration for the construction of an emergency services base in Loyalist Township? Councillor Davison, were you moving that? Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Fritsch, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And our next item is building high-density social housing options. Ms. Chenye.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd like to point out that this report is coming to you as a result of a motion that came to the June 2024 meeting. This is very high level. It includes estimates, and it's kind of the worst case scenario if that it had to be funded 100% by the municipality. We have tried to look at what the best mix of units could be in terms of market rent, affordable housing rents, or RGI, which is not included in this report because that brings the income down to try and make the building sustainable. Even with just a mix of market and affordable, it does not fully pay for itself. So these estimates are really as if it's 100% funded by the municipality. We would, of course, if the project was to go forward to any next steps, we would be applying for any and all funding opportunities available. Any opportunities through CMHC or Municipal Affairs and Housing, of course, could change the mix of the unit types, meaning affordable or market, because they may have to include rent geared to income as well. So that could change numbers moving forward. However, it could be offset if we were able to receive capital investment for that. You have the report in front of you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have and receive any direction in terms of where they would like to go from here.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions for Ms. Chenier on this report? Yes, Councillor Fritsch.
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, Lynn, in the actual recommendation, it talks about exploring a partnership with one of the county's lower tier municipalities. And when you look at the magnitude of the project, obviously it's suited for certain municipalities and not others. So is it implied that all municipalities at least will be involved in this discussion, or are we targeting a municipality?
I don't think we're necessarily targeting municipality. We probably are with this particular size of build in terms of 42 units, but again, that is up to council's will. So if council would like to see a smaller building or build happen in a more rural population, we're really open to whatever council decides. A 42-unit building in Caledon or Flinton probably would not be the most appropriate. In Napanee or Amherstview or Odessa, it very well could be. But again, it's up to council's will. If they would like to choose 2 projects, we're more than happy to pursue that as well. So it's really, this was just a very high level. This is what it costs per unit. We probably need about 3 acres for a 42-unit build. If it was a smaller build, we may need less space, although if it's in a rural setting, we would probably need extra space for wells and septics and those kinds of things. So again, this is just, it's very high level, but we're certainly willing to take direction from council and whatever your options are.
Anything further, Tony? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. A comment I have on there is, I'm wondering if it requires maybe a bit more discussion and not in the council environment. Perhaps representation from the municipalities and county staff. I don't know if you call it a working group or something, just to brainstorm this issue, because it's a big undertaking. And yes, you may determine, because the need is in certain municipalities far greater than others, that it makes sense to have a mega project, so to speak, or a large one in one. But you might flush out some information that would show that maybe there needs to be more than one project. So without sort of having the mindset to go down the road full steam ahead on one large project, a bit more digging into an understanding, and you would understand the needs, and we all think we understand some of the needs, but there's data to back up the needs. So that's my comment.
If you don't mind, Lynn, Brenda has a comment on this one, unless you wanted to field that first. Okay, yes, go ahead, Brenda.
Through you, Mr. Chair. That's exactly what we're thinking about with the next steps, to explore partnership with the lower tiers, and we didn't specify one because really there is no plan for it to be one or another. I mean, one would figure if it's a 42-unit building, it needs servicing of water and sewer, not well and septic, so that automatically suggests Napanee or Loyalist. But to your point, you're exactly right. There's nothing to say that we couldn't do 2 4-units in Addington Highlands the way we did in Stone Mills. Maybe it's a 30-unit building and then 2 4-unit buildings somewhere else. I mean, that's still on the table. And this report did come because of a motion of council, and you wanted just a ballpark idea of what kind of costs and considerations would be in play. And certainly not expecting any big decisions from council today. And even a motion, if you pass a motion for us to go and talk to the lower tiers, that's not, telling us, oh, we're definitely going to do this. We know it's just still exploratory and talking about the feasibility of it. We recognize that's $1.2 million on the tax base each year to maintain 42 units for people. You have to decide yourselves as representatives of the taxpayers, do your taxpayers want you to utilize $1.2 million of their money for that kind of a purpose? And that takes some thought on your part. So We don't, even if you pass this motion to tell us to go talk to the lower tiers, we're not running way ahead of you thinking, oh, we're going to do this project. We know it's just, we're going to take this step by step, bring information back to you.
Anyone else? Deputy Warden Townend.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. I mean, I was the one that put forward that motion, and I'm grateful to the director for bringing the report, because it answers what I wanted to be out there in the public domain as to what the costs are. And obviously, you know, I think all of us are kind of balking at even the estimated cost to our taxpayers of funding this, you know, completely by ourselves. But that said, I don't want this to stop here. I want us to continue to have this conversation, and I want us to be. I think my colleague, you know, was sort of identifying that there are particular needs that are unique to particular municipalities, and I think it's no secret that Napanee is struggling with a lot of these issues, and we have to have a team L&A approach. And I think Napanee has very clear needs that I'm happy for the county to address. Obviously, you know, the high level price tag to this is a lot for, you know, for everybody, but I want to see something continue to go forward. But I think this is a good base and does what I wanted it to do in the initial motion back in the early summer, in terms of, you know, having it be out there in the public's mind just exactly what these things cost, and that, you know, we are trying as the county to be proactive, but we also need to be, you know, realistic about what we're looking at.
Thank you. Councillor Hagedorn.
Thank you. Through you to probably the director or maybe the CIO. As was mentioned, I'm just trying to sort of pull everything together in my mind. As was mentioned, it's a very open-ended recommendation, just to go to the lower tier and glean some information. When that is done, I guess the question that I would ask would be, will it designate like sizes of land or anything, or will it be an open discussion? And where I'm going with that is, it was mentioned it very well may be more palatable and more affordable to not do one 42 size, but do a couple of investments, and not necessarily simultaneously. But so when it goes to the lower tiers, will the question be, do you have land available that you would be potentially willing to have the county use, or will it be, do you have a certain size piece of land? Which, doing it the first way would leave it open for comments from every municipality for whatever's available, and then the information can be taken from there.
Thank you, through the warden. It would be an open conversation. We're not going in and saying, you know, do you have 3 acres of service lot land with a road and, you know, all of that kind of stuff? It'd be a very open conversation, because really, ultimately, it's up to council to decide. And we know that there is a housing need in all of the lower tier municipalities. That's just a fact of life. It's right across the province and right across the county. So we would definitely want it to be a very open conversation between us, the county, and the lower tier municipalities, to see what's out there, what can be done, who's willing to partner, who's not willing to partner, and bring those options back to council.
Thank you, Ms. Chenier. Anyone else? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd be remiss if I didn't weigh in on this conversation. A quick question for our staff is, it says currently 70 individuals on the by name list, and there's 477 individual families on the centralized wait list for the rent-geared home income housing. Can you tell us, break those numbers down with respect to municipalities? Or give us a ballpark figure as to where those folks are?
Through the warden, from the centralized wait list, we actually can't, only because the centralized wait list, when you pull it up, people apply basically for every available unit size that they need. So they're on the list. There's 400 and some individuals, but they're on multiple lists. And it doesn't track where they're from necessarily. Anybody in the province can apply in any municipality for rent geared to income housing. The by name list, we can pull it off by county only. We would know the numbers. So it's actually 70 in Lennox and Addington, and I believe it's 22 in Prince Edward County. The bulk of the by name list numbers are in Greater Napanee, but they're not 100% in Greater Napanee, because that by name list also includes people who are couch surfing, living with family, living in overcrowded conditions, and all of those kinds of things. So I hope that answers your question.
Somewhat. And really, I didn't need to get into specific numbers, but I think it's safe to assume that the vast majority of those folks that are looking for housing are probably within the jurisdiction of Greater Napanee. I don't disagree with my friend across the way, Mr. Fritz, with respect to trying to share the wealth, but are there opportunities, if any of this housing is built in different portions of the municipality, that being Lennox and Addington County, folks are going to be moved to fill those positions or those housing spots? Would I be accurate in saying that it doesn't matter where the housing goes, the folks within this municipality, within the Lennox and Addington County, will be found housing, but it may not necessarily be within the municipality that they're currently hanging their hat? And would I be accurate with that?
Through the warden, it would be people who would be on the centralized wait list regardless of where they live. So most of the people who are on our centralized wait list, yes, live within LNA, Prince Edward County, probably Kingston, Hastings, our neighbors, because it's fairly close and they don't mind traveling that distance. But I can't guarantee, excuse me, that it would be specifically for people who are from LNA only. And the other thing with that is this proposed model that's included in this report is for market and affordable housing. It does not include rent geared to income housing. So it likely would not assist anyone who's currently homeless and on the streets. However, it would potentially free up rent geared to income units that are already in place. So what we did with Tamworth is we went to our existing tenants who were paying market rent in our rent geared to income housing buildings and offered, you know, as long as they were in good standing, we would offer them, hey, would you like to move to this new building? And your rent would be the same or similar to what you're paying here. So we easily found 6 people who wanted to move from the existing rent geared to income building to the affordable housing. And then that freed up 6 units in the Tamworth building that, actually not even just Tamworth, it was 5 for Tamworth and 1 for Napanee. It freed up those units to then open those up to rent geared to income again, which so it helps down the pipeline.
Anything further?
Yeah. Again, thank you for your diligence, Mr. Warden. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that our municipality has now been struck by this homeless situation where we have folks living in tents. I'm sure that the numbers are as accurate as they can be, but you know, we have folks living in the cars, driving to work, and they're living in parking lots. We have many, many more folks that are one paycheck away from being there, and any type of housing that we can obtain for, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm being possessive on this, but unfortunately, we're the ones that are bearing the brunt of this, and we have to create as much housing as possible. And I can appreciate following budgets, and we have to stay within our means, but can we afford not to do it is the question I have. So I think this evening, because we are at such a high level, that I think it's a good conversation that we need to continue on to explore this. You know, I think we need to overturn every stone that's out there, not just you know, whether we can get free land here or free land there. I think we have to overturn every stone to see what we can do to try and bring, and be quite honest, I'm not even sure what affordable housing is anymore. I really don't. But what I do know is that we need housing, and at this point we'll take any type of housing we can get. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I would just don't want to lose I don't want to lose any momentum because there's a lot of big numbers on a piece of paper. So thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thanks, Councillor Richardson. Anyone else? I did need some clarification here, Lynn. So the full market rent, 25 units at $1,450 a month, that's the competitive housing market rent, or that's defined under social services as something different from if I went out and looked at real estate listings for single unit apartments?
So I took the full market rent from the Rural Housing Information System, which scans retail listings of apartments. So for a one bedroom, it would be $1,450. The affordable rent is 80% of CMHC's
right.
average market rent, which would bring it to $899.25 a month. So that's definitely significantly less than what the actual market rate would be that's available.
But even if this hypothetical build were simply a commercial build with full market rent, there would still be a shortfall based on the expenses that you've allowed here. A landlord would have to charge more than $1,450 a month to pay and cover the mortgage, the insurance, so on and so forth. So it really shows what we're up against here. And as Terry said, what is affordable housing anymore? And does that only apply to people in a very high income bracket, or at least upper middle class income bracket? I know I've got a blended family of 4 boys. Only one's living in a house, and that's just because he kind of got lucky and built a house before COVID when all the construction material costs went up, and built a very simple 900 square foot house. One of them's in Toronto with a partner. They're both professionals. They're saving, but the horizon seems to keep getting farther away, you know? This is a very difficult situation. Anything further? We do have a motion to receive this report, and further that council directs staff to explore a partnership with one of the county's lower tier municipalities that could include donation of the land required to construct mixed market affordable housing and an exemption for all development charges if applicable. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Fritsch? Yes, go ahead.
May I speak? Could we add a word to it? I'm just asking this question. Explore a partnership with one or more of the counties.
I think that's probably
Just
appropriate.
Technically,
Yeah.
just so we have the discussion with everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a seconder for that amended motion? Yes, Councillor Hagedorn. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Ms. Chenier is still on the dock for the subject on the next report, which is new child care funding approach. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't really have anything to add to the report other than to say, you know, we're very grateful that we're getting this information early so that we're able to prepare for 2025 and work with our childcare operators to ensure that they're also ready. We do believe it will be a simpler process once we get it all sorted out and get all the wrinkles ironed out. So that'll be good for both us in terms of trying to figure out what their subsidies should be, as well as the operators to report all of their expenses and costs in an easy format. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Any questions on this report? Just one for me. I know we talked about this at Social Services, but this is basically an administrative situation. It doesn't really affect the users of the system.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, other than there will be a decrease in
fees.
Fees.
Yes, yeah, that's the bottom line for people with kids in care. All right then, this is simply a report to be noted and received. Is there a mover? Deputy Warden Townend and Councillor Davison. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Advisory committee reports, the TAC minutes from the August 13th meeting. Mr. Wager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't have anything to add or highlight, but happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Any questions on this report? Can I get a mover and seconder to receive it? Councillor Hagedorn and Councillor Fritsch, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the JMPC Center Compliance Report, Ms. Malcolm.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. You will see that we are on track with our occupancy again to probably target just over 100 admissions again this year, like we did last year. There isn't a lot of change in the quality indicators. There's really very little movement. so I will leave that with you. We did have a mobile optometry clinic come into the Parrott Center. That's been a long time since we've had a clinic that actually had glasses for the residents to choose from. This contributes to resident falls if they don't have the right prescription in their lenses, or they're off kilter because of a fall. So this was really a big win for us. However, unfortunately, they didn't sell enough glasses, and so they're not interested in coming back. So we will continue now to look some more. But at least 15 people got assessed, so that was good. We did have the ministry inspectors in for a compliance visit July 15th to the 17th. They utilized a new system called the Lean Report. So this system, they come in, they're supposed to be in there for a very shorter, condensed period of time, and then they leave, or when they leave, they've provided us with the report as well. So typically we would have had to wait a few days before we got the report, so it was a little bit faster. You can see that they did inspect 2 falls and 9 inquiries. A little frustrating, there was 2 dates. They have to complete this, the staff have to complete hourly documentation on a variety of things, which they had done, and missed 2 squares on 2 dates with their initials, which resulted in a written notification for the home. So we will do audits of that moving forward, but largely I'm not concerned. I feel like they were doing a very good job, and they missed 2 boxes. So. As far as infection control goes, I'm just noting an outbreak that we had back in July on one of our home areas, and we are on target to start our COVID vaccinations and flu vaccinations, which will be in around mid-October. Not anything significant to report in the next chart. Our education is due at the end of October, and staff are on track completing the requirements there. We also had a surprise visit from the Ministry of Labor. They came on site on August 27th. They were following up from the COVID outbreak that we had in July, where there was a couple of staff that also acquired COVID. One of the requirements under the Act is that all IPAC policies have to be reviewed annually, as do health and safety policies, and there was a number of policies that weren't reviewed. The ones that had changes had been reviewed. The ones that didn't require changes had not been reviewed, or had not been updated, and so we've implemented a different process in which we're going to track our policy amendments and reviews, and so moving forward, that should not be a problem. And we have submitted our report to Ministry of Labor, and they've come back in and are satisfied with that. And then I would just want to also highlight that we had 2 people, Kirsten Van Ness and Amanda Sparks, who are now health and safety certified members for the Parrott Center.
Thank you, Angela. Any questions for Ms. Malcolm on that report? Seeing none, can I get a motion to receive? Deputy Warden Townend and Councillor Richardson, all in favor? Thank you. Any committee reports by members of council? Anything anyone wants to bring forward? Nothing. County Department and Activity Reports. Administration, Ms. Orchard.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just one thing to highlight with council, and that is our new purpose with staff. So we wanted to come up with a phrase or a mantra that would unite all of our different departments and basically say why we do what we do and how we do what we do, and bring us all together. And that can be an interesting challenge when you have the mix that we have of the county. You've got nursing homes and paramedics. You've got roads, provincial offenses. You've got people are sometimes happy to see you or not happy to see you in some of our departments. So where we landed was helping people live their best lives, and we feel that that embraces everything that all of our departments are trying to do. Because frankly, it's obvious with paramedic services or long-term care, but even if you're in the roads department, you're helping people live their best lives by ensuring that our roads are safe and easier to travel, and that we're responsive and efficient and effective when people ask for driveway considerations. Or if you're in provincial offenses and someone's coming to pay a fine, it's maybe not their best day. but you can at least be as pleasant as you can be and as efficient and effective as you can be to make it a little bit easier. So we're embracing that, and we have it on t-shirts, and you're going to see it on some of our paperwork and stuff, and it's just something that brings us all together and unites all our different departments and why we do what we do and how we do what we do, and we think it's important. So we're just sharing it with you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions council might have on this report.
Any questions for the CAO? I like that approach, living our best lives. Even Mark Day's tax calculations. Might be a stretch.
He can be as accurate as he needs to be and to give you the best advice he can so you can make the best decisions for taxpayers. I can spin this.
I'm getting dizzy. Further to that, financial services, Mr. Day.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. One thing I would like to highlight in the report is to announce that Janelle Impola was successful as our senior financial analyst asset management candidate. Janelle's been with us since 2017. Her most recent role was coordinator of financial services, so we'll be looking to backfill her position, but we're excited with the department moving forward, and just like to congratulate her openly to council. And I'm happy to answer any questions that
Thanks,
council may have.
Mr. Day. Any questions for Mark? None. Moving on to social services, Ms. Chenier.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. The only thing I have to add to the report is I'd just like to congratulate Pat McLean on his upcoming retirement at the end of this month. He is our manager responsible for the Ontario Works program, and he's been with the county for 10 years. So just to thank him for his service and wish him well in his future.
Thank you. Any questions for Lynn? None. Moving on to community development services activities, Mr. Ball.
Okay, thank you. Just a few things to highlight. Firstly, in the library, July and August are quite busy times in our libraries with our summer reading clubs and camps. And our programming team was really busy, and this summer through July and August, we had 4,700 people participate in programs at all our branches, and that's close to a 7% increase versus last year. So congratulations to our staff for that. Also busy season at the museum and our archives. So through July and August, we had 2,500 people visit the McPherson House and the museum, and that's a 33% increase versus last summer. And then our total yearly attendance as of August 31st is 6,590, which is a 29% increase versus 2023. So again, congrats to staff for that. And then lastly, on the economic development front, the warden spoke about the Goodyear announcement. I just wanted to say a big thank you to the staff and councils of the town of Greater Napanee and Stone Mills for the work they did in very quickly developing a community improvement plan and a tax incremental grant. Thanks to County Council for supporting that tax incremental grant as well, and the work that was done by Anna Gelati, who helped with the CIP writing and the policies for that. I truly believe that really helped take it across the finish line and show the local support here in combination with the federal and provincial government. So thank you very much, and I know that Goodyear is very appreciative of that as well, and looking forward to another 30 plus years of great things happening at Goodyear.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions or comments for Mr. Paul? All right, thank you. Moving on to long-term care, Ms. Malcolm.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. We have not heard yet as far as our early adopter application. I was expecting actually to hear from them this week because the timeline is extremely tight, but I guess we'll just continue to wait. The Local Priorities Fund, so this is something that came out, you can see on August 19th. This is a proposal, so no guarantee, and actually not even any guarantee as to if we would get portions of this or all of it or none of it. So we did reach out to residents and our physician, families and staff around what was important to them. And so again, we took a look at what our capital was as well to see if there was opportunities that we could pull back from capital and utilize this funding opportunity. The front entrance double doors is something that we actually applied for an accessibility grant through, and we received notice in August that we did not get that grant. So this is something that is super important. Residents really struggle and families really struggle getting through those two double doors at the front entrance. And then there's a mixture again of would be great to haves and some things that actually we need as far as equipment in the home, like our mattresses and things like that. So I'm happy to, oh, sorry. I also would like to thank the county councillors who came and supported us at the Living Classroom grand opening. It went off very well, I feel like, and I hope that you were pleased with what the room looked like. I really can't believe that it was a wheelchair storage room, and now it's this beautiful classroom that is pictured in your report. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Malcolm? Yes, that was a pleasant day. The weather was nice, people were upbeat, and I really enjoyed that. Moving on then to Emergency Services, Chief Jones.
Thank you, Warden, through you. Just want to bring to attention the promotion of Superintendent Paul Osborne to a Deputy Chief in consultation with the CAO. As the community paramedic portfolio grows, it was determined that the responsibilities were indicative of that assignment and that increase in responsibility. So we were excited to make that announcement. So I just wanted to openly acknowledge the great work that Paul does with our community and our community paramedic program.
Any questions for Chief Jones? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Moving on to Human Resources, Ms. McGarvey.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would like to highlight just some of the positive comments that I included in the report regarding our Mentorship Matters program. This is just one of several initiatives that we are employing as part of our employer choice strategy. And it's really great and kind of a bit of a nice surprise to see positive comments, not only from those that are being mentored, but from the mentors themselves about what they're getting out of being part of the program. And in terms of helping people live their best lives, another spin is that applies to those we serve, of course, but it also applies to one another. And so I see this as very much related. So that's another spin for you.
Thank you. That's an important one, because if the people who are trying to get the community to live their best lives aren't living their best lives at work, then we're beat. Any questions or comments for Trina? Nothing, thank you. Moving on to Infrastructure Services, Mr. Wigger.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, I'd just like to highlight that GIP is currently on schedule for the construction of the roundabout. We have added some additional works, which they have applied for some additional time, which was acceptable in the contract. I do want to point out that the culvert pictures you see, that's the largest culvert that the county has ever done in as far as length, and the largest that GIP has done in the area. They actually had to get some of their senior staff from outside of the county area in Kingston and Hastings in order to facilitate the successful installation of that culvert, and it was pretty neat to see. GIP has recognized that traffic is being impacted because of the roundabout, so they have actually will be going to Loyalist Council requesting that once they start paving the actual roundabout, to do it during the nighttime. That will actually give us a better product, because then we're not getting traffic directly onto the roundabout immediately after. It gives the chance for the asphalt to get cool and properly compacted. But it also has the ability that there's less traffic going through there at night. So they're actually going to do like a road closure, so it shouldn't affect people going to school or going to work. It's just after hours. And they have confirmed that they will allow emergency services through. So if there's a fire, an ambulance or anything, or OPP, emergency services will have full access and be able to go through. It's just residents that will be required to bypass that area for the night. And once I know the exact date, which will probably be presented at Loyalist Council, I can share that with County Council at that time. In addition to congratulating Joe Fraser and Ben Lipsey on Property Services, welcome them to the team. I'd also like to welcome Kevin Cruz. He's the new supervisor for GIS, and we'll be working with your municipalities, supporting them as well. Happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions for Mr. Wigger? Yes, Councillor Hagedorn.
This might be a question that can be asked at the township level when they approach us, but will the plan to do it at night, will that reduce or eliminate the number of joints in the roundabout?
Yes, it will eliminate the number of joints because they can do it all at once. And it will actually speed up time. They can do it twice as fast because they're not having to transfer traffic and move traffic control while they work.
Thank you. Both big positives. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay, thank you, everyone. Can I get a motion to receive all the activity reports, please? Councillor Hagedorn and Councillor Fritsch. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Resolutions, there is just one. Public sector salary disclosure. What are your wishes on this resolution from Sterling Marmara? Is it from Sterling? It's from, yeah, Sterling Rodden, yeah. Yes, Councillor Hagedorn.
Move to receive and support.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Fritsch, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Matters for information, Ontario Senior Achievement Award. Any discussion on this piece of information? Can I have a motion to receive it? Councillor Fritsch. Councillor Hagedorn. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Other business, statements by members. Anyone have anything they wish to bring forward? Notice of motion. Matters of urgency. Nothing noted. Confirmation and proceedings bylaw. Deputy Warden Townend and Councillor Richardson, all in favor? That's carried. Adjournment, motion to adjourn. Councillor Richardson, Councillor Davison, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, everybody.